Joe,
Greg.
I got a couple questions I need to ask you.
I figured you would.
It's a survey of sorts.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, let's begin.
I'm kind of nervous.
Do you sometimes drink coffee?
I do.
Oh my God.
Do people around you seem irritated at times?
Often.
Whoa. Wasn't expecting that one.
Not expecting that. Have you ever had a late lunch?
I have.
Lunch?
Ooh.
Do you happen to know what a weenie wagger is?
Sadly, yes.
It's 2024, Joe. That's crazy.
Very interesting stuff, Joe. Very interesting stuff.
Welcome to the Prime Cut Podcast, a movie discussion show aimed at recommending deep cuts, flawed gems, and forgotten masterpieces. Gentlemen, I'm excited about our discussion today. And I haven't polled either of you really about what you felt about this movie. First time for both of you. We're talking about 1974's The Parallax View.
We have Senator Carroll with us today to celebrate Independence Day.
Sometimes I've been called too independent for my own good.
Since the assassination, 6 of these people have died in some kind of an accident. These people were killed, and whoever killed them is going to try to kill me. Austin thinks that maybe we all saw something up there.
You've been asking questions about me and things you know nothing about. All I want is to stay out of it.
Sorry, Mr. Tucker, you got information I need. This story's gonna mean more to me than $10,000.
Fella, you don't know what this story means.
First, I thought these killings were related only to the Carroll assassination. It's much bigger than that. Whoever's behind this is in the business of recruiting assassins. I think I got some of their entrance exams.
We're in the business of reporting the news, not creating it. You're telling me that you alone can uncover what all these agencies couldn't?
Maybe.
Congratulations, Richard. You had some very interesting scores on the first series of tests for Parallax. We're prepared to offer you the most lucrative and rewarding work of your life.
It's directed by Pakula. It stars Warren Beatty. It's one of the 3 movies that we use in our opening. A line of dialogue is used in the opening for the podcast. There's a lot to talk about.
I'm just saying, you might be a great candidate for the Parallax Corporation, Joe.
Yeah, so this is where are you ranking this categorically?
So I think that anything that is basically pre-1980s, I think we have to consider that a deep cut. Because most people haven't seen a lot of movies. There's very few that are huge from the 70s and beyond.
That our audiences would be into.
Correct, yeah. I think that most of those movies, you can make a pretty short list of the big ones, like Star Wars, Jaws, Alien,
Godfather.
These are all the biggest movies. Yeah, 1 and 2. These are all the biggest movies from pre-80s. And so almost anything is going to fall into a deep cut from that category.
Okay.
But TV doesn't really show us those movies, you know? There's not a huge audience streaming that on Netflix or any of the other streaming platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's fair. I would label this a forgotten masterpiece personally, but I think it could straddle the line between forgotten masterpiece, deep cut. I think that's very fair. I would guess that most people that open their podcast app to listen to this episode are going to be like, I've never heard of this movie, which is some of what we like, right? We want that on some levels because we want to, number one, introduce people to films like this, themes that are captured in some of these movies that you don't see anymore. And also we hope that the audience trusts us enough that even if the movie's not recognizable, they'll enjoy the episode and maybe seek the movie out to watch. And that's kind of the goal here, which is part of why we wanted to pick this movie. And I really love this movie. So
you don't feel like this one's like culty, like cult following-y?
I mean, I think it probably is, but I think to me like a cult movie, Mark, is like one that's somewhat still popular. And I feel like this movie is almost so bleak that it probably doesn't fit into like the cult following, but it is very well regarded. I think you're right there.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a couple thousand people who like might Google this,
yeah,
and like stumble upon the YouTube video,
yeah,
and be like, "Oh my god, a new Parallax view!" Because I'll tell you, I tried YouTubing this movie just to see like who was putting stuff out, and it's like 8 years ago. 4 years ago, it's not recent. Like, people are not reviewing this movie recently.
Yep. And I think some of it is because it's, it is definitely from a time. I think it's massively impacted by the late 60s, the 1970s. We're going to talk about those from like a political side of things, from like a societal side of things. But it's also interesting that it feels like it could be, like, I'm kind of surprised that this movie hasn't been remade.
Fair. Yeah. You could definitely remake this movie today.
Yeah. I mean,
easily.
and I think it would kind of slot into a lot of like the anxieties and the stress that America is facing, at least half of America, I guess, given this week's election results. But, and we're not going to get into too much to that, hopefully. But Greg, what did you think of this movie, just in general? Before we get into, as usual, you know what? We got to talk about business. We got to talk business here.
So you can reach us on Instagram, Prime Cut Podcast. And there we basically post up whatever movies we're posting. We'll post the reels, stuff like that. You can reach us via Gmail at theprimecutpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up with recommendations there. We've also got the Tiki-Talkie. I have to make this known that I'm the one that posts the Tiki-Talkies, but Mark here creates a lot of the videos as well. So Joe's not really sure what's going on there.
Not
and then
sure.
This interesting thing happened, recently. I was talking with Mark. Mark's back on the dating apps, y'all. So if you want, you can always hit Mark up via Hinge. I know that his inbox was getting flooded and they thought he was a bot. These are like, it's a guy from Prime Cut. He's on Hinge. That's crazy. He's on Bumble.
He's
not on Tinder. He's not on Tinder.
We could do a Prime Cut Podcast Hinge profile and just have it be Mark.
Well, it kind of already is. People know him. They see him on there.
I mean, we might look into this.
Every picture that I have is me just like talking in the pod.
Yeah,
it's not like pictures of me like with anything, it's just
good
stills of the pod, videos of the pod. Recently I got back on, got my heart broken. Maybe I'm looking for a new movie recommendation.
Maybe that's it.
Send me anything.
Maybe that's the way to your heart, Mark.
Slide into his DMs. Let him know what you want to hear.
I'll watch Love Actually.
I mean, it is a holiday movie, right?
We're around the holidays.
We're not covering that movie for the holidays, though. Just so everyone knows, that's not happening. Okay, we did the business. The Prime Cut Podcast @gmail.com. I don't know if you mentioned that, Greg.
I did. Yes.
Okay, good. Greg, what did you think, man? I've been pumping this movie. Been pumping it up.
All right. So Joe's been hyped about doing this movie for a minute, and I've been a bit hesitant because I tend to be a little more hesitant. I feel like movies pre-80s can be a little slower than normal. And the last movie we did last season, we did the Yakuza, which it's a slow movie, but that one was definitely good. And going back to that one, I recently started watching Tokyo Vice. Tokyo Vice made so much more sense because I had seen the Yakuza.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
What do you know, Greg?
Because of all the finger chopping with the Yakuza and stuff like that. I was like, I texted Joe and I was like, hey, you're right. I was wrong.
I fist pumped like right away.
But I actually like this one more than the Yakuza.
Wow.
I thought that, but I think that A good movie or a good book gives you a reason to want to turn the page or to continue paying attention. It's got to grip you pretty early on. And this one does that like right out the gates. Within the first few seconds of this movie, it sucks you in. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that's where this was going. So yeah, I liked it. It was good. It was better than I expected, and I wasn't really sure what to expect because I'd done not so much research on it. Truthfully, there's not a lot of information out there about it, like we were saying earlier. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wonder why there's not as much. And sometimes it's almost like I don't know what you would talk about. After you watch this movie, you're kind of like, I don't know what there is to say. It's very it's definitive, but at the same time it's very elusive what it's talking about. Like you know what it's saying, but you're like, I can't really like grab it. And I think that's like a highlight of the experience of watching this movie, especially for the first time, is that it does not end the way you think. It does not go the way you think. It is not how you think it's going to go. And I think it's pretty grim. And that also is just like such a risky thing. And Warren Beatty, we're going to talk about him in a little bit, but he is like, at the time, he was like a very, very popular heartthrob movie star. And for him to do something like this transgressive, I think, and comment on the state of affairs in a very negative way is pretty risky. And I think I'm impressed and surprised that someone would do that, I guess. Mark, what did you think?
Oh, I'll just say that Joe has been hyping the hell out of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, standard is up. This is from the group chat. I don't want to raise expectations, but it's a fucking masterwork. In which Greg said, Joe, you need to undersell and overdeliver. I think Joe loves his 70s movies.
I do.
I think that there's a lot of things in this movie that don't necessarily make sense. Like it's a little flawed,
Sure.
But we're going to talk about it, the juxtaposition and like the contrast of visuals and the dissonance in the soundtrack that they use, the little like ding, 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 ding thing that going through the whole movie.
Yes.
It's absolutely incredible.
It's awesome.
It reminded me of Jaws.
Dude. Yeah.
It's like, it's creepy. Like the score is like dread filling to me when I hear it.
It's cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mark, because that was something I picked up on is the score with this movie. Because I guess in the 70s, they didn't really use a lot of music. So there's not really a soundtrack. That wasn't really a thing that was popular then. You just had a score.
Yep.
And this one was cool. And it was very ominous. And throughout the whole movie, it's just ubiquitous in the feeling of dread throughout it. It's great.
It really is.
Cool.
Yeah, it
sets the vibe.
Oh,
it's like if you had used a completely different score, like an upbeat one, you'd be like, well, this movie's confusing. What is going on?
Like the Bloodsport scene when they're running to the little
sitcom
music
we just
down
did,
the...
Yeah, we did the Bloodsport watch along, and it might as well have been set to the theme of Family Matters or
terrible.
Or Full House.
But you're right, Greg. This movie starts with that score, and you're immediately like, it's foreboding, and you feel it, and it makes you feel a certain way, and it's repeated throughout the movie, and you learn as the movie goes. When this score is coming up, you're like, oh, the perfect scores make you feel a certain way, and they weave into the narrative, I think, perfectly. And I think this is a movie that really does that. It ties in so well.
I agree.
Man, this thing's creepy.
It's creepy. So, okay, let's talk about our director and our star. And I want to touch on the cinematographer too, because we're going to talk about some of the way this movie was shot, which I think is really important. But this movie is directed by Alan Pakula, who is a very, I would say, conspiracy. He is known for his conspiracy films in the 70s. He made a trilogy of conspiracy movies. This is one of them. The three that he made it's kind of like a mystery movie called Klute, Klute. It's with Jane Fonda. It's really good. It's a paranoia movie. He made this movie, The Parallax View, in 1974, and then he made All the President's Men in 1976, which is directly related to the Watergate scandal and the Washington Post reporters, Woodward and Bernstein, that uncovered the Nixon scandal and published it and all of that. So he is very much like steeped in this paranoia, conspiracy, 1970s societal upheaval time. And a couple other things that he did that you might have heard of. Sophie's Choice. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. Meryl Streep. It's extremely depressing. It's about the Holocaust. It's a good movie, but it's one that you're like, never watching that again.
Has there ever been an uplifting Holocaust movie?
Very fair. No. Presumed Innocent, 1990. That's a Harrison Ford like thriller. It's pretty good. But Pelican Brief is one of the last movies that he did.
Seen that?
Yeah.
That movie rules.
It's a great movie. Julia Roberts, Denzel. It's very good. Based on a John Grisham novel. So again, that's kind of like a conspiracy thriller. So this is like kind of his wheelhouse, is these type of like political thrillers that usually have like a conspiracy angle.
That's interesting that you mentioned that the John Grisham angle, because I felt like the trilogy of movies he did, I was like, this guy's just a John Grisham of directors from the 70s.
Yep.
They're all along the same lines. John Grisham basically just rewrites the same story, just slightly different, and it sucks you in.
Yeah.
It's always political too.
It is. And the three movies, the Paranoia trilogy, Clute, this movie, Parallax View, and All the President's Men, they're called the Paranoia trilogy. And they are very much like conspiracy, political thrillers. And I think he does a great job of, in all three of those movies, there is very little what I would consider to be like modern action. Like this movie has some shootings, but it's not, there's not action in it.
There's action in this movie.
I guess
there's some cool.
The bar fight's pretty good.
And the police
Hazzard.
chase. The Dukes of Hazzard scene.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is pretty good. You're right. I guess what I mean is like he manages to make these movies exciting without making him feel like this is an action movie with some paranoia, some thriller tendencies. These are thrillers that have action parts to them.
Agreed.
So because it's like noir-y, right? Like
very much
movies like kind of like this, where it's not like on the brink of like what's the word?
Disbelief.
Not believable.
Yeah,
disbelief.
Yeah.
Like it's very grounded to itself, and it doesn't do anything super crazy besides like the extreme paranoia in the movie. But
yes,
it doesn't go super far. I mean, the Mustang or whatever cop car that was that did the Dukes of Hazzard thing. I'm thinking that axle comes right off, but he lands it and he just drives away. Yeah. I was like, all right, sure.
I thought that car was cool until I saw it had 4 doors.
Oh well, police car, man. Can't have a 2-door cop car.
Where are you going to put them?
Yeah.
Put them in the trunk where they belong.
Oh, my
They're
God.
criminals. They go in the trunk. They don't get any luxuries like seats.
So, Pakula, I would say, is like a master of 70s cinema when it comes to these thrillers. And I really like his style. A lot of this movie, he kind of lets the movie, I don't know if I'm, may not be verbalizing this properly, but see if you pick up what I'm laying down here. I feel like he doesn't over-explain to the audience. He lets you learn this story as it goes. He treats you like you're an adult who is educated and is interested in watching this movie, not like, I'm going to lay out every step for you. This is it's this. Step 1. He's like, no, you're just as confused as our main character.
Well, I think that's American cinematography, modern American cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
They really cookie cutter it and they hand it to you on a plate, and you know exactly what's happening next without even seeing the movie before.
Yeah.
That's just how it always goes in these modern movies. But if you look at Eastern movies or you look at movies from the 70s, that's not the case.
Right.
Because the cookie cutter formula wasn't there. And it makes for a different watching experience.
Yeah. And I think that helps movies like this. Because if this movie laid everything out for you, I think it would pack less of a punch when you start to figure it out on your own. Like, you're kind of unraveling this plot that we're going to get into. You're kind of unraveling it as you go along with Warren Beatty's character, as opposed to like, you're not watching Warren Beatty figure it out. You're like, I'm here figuring it out with him, which I like.
Yeah. That's
slow to respond.
He was thinking about it.
Yeah.
He was thinking about it.
I agree. It's like I said, it keeps you captivated because it keeps you wanting to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And it's got that comic book feel that I was talking about, where you don't know what's coming around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some funny lines. Like, I can't wait to talk about the bar scene.
Great stuff. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, but there's some cool things that happen. I was like, oh, that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, all right, we talked about our director. I think it's important to talk about the cinematographer for this movie, because he's a very important figure in modern cinematography, and especially this time period. His name is Gordon Willis. He's very famous for, he's called the master. One of his nicknames is the Master of Darkness, because he is all about using shadows and dark spaces versus light spaces, which he does a lot in this movie. He is best known for some Woody Allen stuff. So like Annie Hall, he did shoot that, but he also shot 6 of Alan Pakula's movies, this movie included, obviously. All the President's Men, another Pakula movie and part of that Paranoia trilogy. He shot all 3 Godfathers.
Oh,
so especially to me, Godfather 2 is like his crowning achievement, I think, where he really uses shadows and darkness in like a room. You know, it'll be like Michael Corleone's like sitting behind his desk and you can see half of his face and half of it is obscured or half of it is in the shadow.
That's this guy.
Yes, that's Gordon Willis. Very famous. I think.
What was the last movie he did? Do you know?
I can find that for you.
It was the Devil's Own in 1997.
I fucking like that movie.
I've never seen it. What is it?
Pakula directed it. It's Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt. It's the one where Brad Pitt's the IRA guy who comes
How
over.
have I never seen this?
Look, Brad Pitt's accent isn't great, but I dig this movie. I like Irish.
What kind of accent does he have?
He's an Irish guy.
Oh,
it's not.
Yeah,
wait,
Rory Devaney.
Yeah, it's not. It's a good B movie. It's worth your time, Greg.
But that's crazy that Brad Pitt did a B movie.
I mean, now.
Oh, it's Pakula too.
It's Pakula. Yeah, it's pretty fucking good, Greg. It's worth your time.
Say that movie again.
The Devil's Own.
What's the plot of it?
Brad Pitt is an IRA freedom fighter, and he needs to escape the British from Ireland, and he goes to America, and he is sponsored as just like a guy who needs, help, basically, kind of like a refugee almost, by Harrison Ford, who is a police captain, and his family, because Harrison Ford's like an Irish guy, Irish American, and he's like, yeah, we'll take this guy in. And
does Harrison Ford have an Irish accent?
No, he's a New York cop.
Oh, okay.
It's good. Give it a shot. I might rewatch it now. I haven't seen it in a couple of years. I like it.
That sounds like a movie definitely worth checking out. Like Brad Pitt and Harrison Ford in the same movie.
Yeah.
What?
It's pretty prime cut. It's heavily flawed, but it's a good movie.
Okay, I'm interested.
So again,
I'd watch it.
Another Pakula. Like this, Pakula and him are like, they work together well. So again, like I want to, as we talk through the plot, if there are points that you guys want to talk about, like the way this movie was shot, I want to bring those up. But like, just the way this movie opens, where you have the totem, like the totem pole shot, and then the camera moves to the Space Needle shot, where it's like almost like an older civilization and the new civilization. Like, I think immediately you're like, oh, this guy is serious. Like, this is a good cinematographer.
2 handmade objects, man.
That's right.
He's like a lot of the cinematography in the movie. They, I guess you'll get into the whole plot of it, but it's paranoia, right? It's built on the, big companies are controlling politics. yada yada. So what he does are these big wide shots, wide angle.
Mm-hmm.
The backdrop is never on a stage at all. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yep.
There's never a stage.
Right.
It's always a location. One of the big things that he does is like he just makes the main characters look so small.
Mm-hmm.
And behind them, a big ass building or the dam that they went to. The guy, I think that's what makes this movie so interesting to watch. Even though it's in the 1970s, you're like, oh, it's gonna look bad. It doesn't.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't look bad. I watched it on it was HD, I guess, 720.
Yep.
Maybe 1080.
Yep.
And it looked great. The shadows weren't super dark, but you could tell what he was doing with the lighting without it being like, what the hell? Like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
There's a hangar scene that's like 10 minutes long where he's just hiding in the shadows. I didn't lose him.
Money.
I could see him the whole time.
Look at you, Mark. You
And it
got an eye.
was
You're talking about the end scene, Mark?
Yeah,
Like the convention
hangar
hall?
when he's at the hall.
Yeah.
And he's in the rafters. This guy, this dude does something really cool that not a lot of people do. A lot of people want to stay in sets and use CGI. In the 70s, you couldn't do that. I mean, I guess you could. But the fact that he does it makes this movie that much cooler.
Yeah, or paintings, but
Star Wars used it. Yeah, the miniatures.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you're right, Mark. And the one thing that you mentioned, he makes a lot of times he makes the characters small, especially our main character. He shoots him from a far away distance. And I always got the feeling that we are like voyeuristic. Like our main character is being watched. We know that as this movie unfolds. And when he shoots it that way, you are like, oh, I see what someone would be seeing if they're following our character or watching him from a distance. Which, again, without even really knowing it, it heightens your paranoia when you watch this movie.
Yeah.
Let's talk Warren Beatty real quick. What do you know Warren Beatty from, Greg, if anything?
Dick Tracy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes. I think for our generation, it's definitely Dick Tracy. And it's interesting because he's had an interesting career. He's a weird guy. I think he's a really weird dude.
Go on.
Warren Beatty.
Why? What is he doing?
He's just like,
why is he so weird, Joe?
Well, there's just like a lot of stories about him. Like he's really twitchy and weird, and like I probably should do more research on this, but like there are definitely roles that he was considered for where he would like say, I want to be in this role, except I want to do like, okay, for example, he wanted to be the Burt Reynolds character in Boogie Nights.
Oh.
He should have been the Burt Reynolds character in Smokey and the Bandit.
That's a straight Burt Reynolds charisma role. And I guess like he was actually cast in that role and was very like changing the script. Was like, I want to do different stuff. And the director was like, no, man, like that's nothing like what this character is. He's just like a weird dude. He's a fucking weird guy.
That he directed some of the scenes in this movie.
I saw that. Yeah, very interesting. He also won Reds. The movie Reds won an Oscar for a movie that he directed in 1981.
I think that when they wrote this movie, what I found was that they didn't have a full script.
Yeah.
When Warren signed on for this, and so like the script wasn't even done, and he was there, but he was also involved in politics.
Yeah, he was raising money for George McGovern at the time. I think he took like 3 years off to be like a fundraiser. And
it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's the thing about this movie not being ready was that he wanted to play this role, and he had like a certain amount of time that before he had another scheduled project. So they were like, well, we can start shooting right now, but we like don't have a script ready. He was like, that's fine. Let's go with it anyway. And we'll just kind of work around it, which they did. And it ended up being like pretty impressive. But I'm with you. I know him from Dick Tracy.
He is Dick Tracy.
He's Dick Tracy. You know, he's in a big movie that he did is Bonnie and Clyde when he was about 29 years old in 1967, which is like his big break. He did some westerns. He worked with Robert Altman, McCabe and Mrs. Miller. A big one that he was Heaven Can Wait and Shampoo. Both are like big time movies in the 70s.
This might come as a surprise, but he was kind of big in the hip hop community.
For Bulworth.
For Braz, featuring Old Dirty Bastard and Maya, Ghetto Superstar.
Yeah,
he was in the video.
He is in the. I'm watching it right now. He is in the music video,
dude. It's from the movie Bulworth, and that's his movie about this politician that like leans into like this hip hop angle. Yeah,
that's funny.
But again, like
that's
fucking
great.
Crazy weird role. Like he's just a weirdo. He's also like extremely handsome, very charismatic. And I think,
whoa, Joe, you want to marry the guy? I mean, calm down,
dude. He's definitely like Brad Pitt of this era. He and like Paul Newman.
He looks like Rob Lowe.
Yeah, they're like the heartthrobs of this time period. Which again is like kind of interesting that he took this role because I think this is like somewhat of a risky role for like an A-lister. Really, this is a subversive movie. This is a grim film.
Yeah, I can't speak to that because I don't. I'm not that old, so I don't really know. I don't really know what all the movies were like coming out in the 70s.
What all the movies
I wasn't
were
born
like.
until like the mid 90s, Joe.
Mid 90s, Jesus. Yeah, go on.
He's young. Yeah.
Anyways, I can't really speak to some of that stuff, but I did notice. I was like, I thought he looked, he had that 70s hair. He had like that early Mel Gibson hair.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he kind of. So I think with that, like, let's get into the plot of this movie because we've been skirting this movie. This movie starts out with no explanations. There's no voiceover. There's no title card that says what we're watching, which I think is awesome. And basically we get almost like a man on the street type of perspective. And again, this is what I really like about how this movie is shot. Is like, we aren't introduced to any characters. It's just like we're filming this parade. We're in Seattle. There's a parade. It's very obvious after a couple of minutes that this parade is for like a 4th of July parade. And there's a prominent local politician, a senator, who is kind of like the keynote speaker or the host of the parade, right? And you see the parade coming through and it's at the Seattle Space Needle. And it's kind of this section of the movie is kind of narrated in the third person by a TV reporter. And she's on camera and she's kind of talking about, this Senator Charles Carroll, he's coming here with his wife and he's a rising political figure and he's, on the cover of Time magazine, giving us kind of the background to this guy. And they go up into the Space Needle. And what happens?
I got to say something about that.
Talk to me about it because you lived in Seattle.
So, yeah, I lived in Seattle. This is 4th of July, and I got to point out that everybody there is wearing jackets and sweaters.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
I did. Is that right?
Is that right? Is that accurate?
Here's what's like. It can be. It absolutely can be because sometimes it's just stupid cold there.
Love it.
You get like 10 months of cold where it's just permanently like 50 degrees, and overcast, and cloudy.
Beautiful, Greg.
Overcast and cloudy.
Love it.
And then you just end up wearing a lot of flannel because you're always cold. And then you grow your hair out and start a grunge band and wear Doc Martens. That's what everybody there does.
You're in Alice in Chains all of a sudden.
Yeah. I've been up that Space Needle. Have you ever been to the Space Needle, Joe?
I have.
That was good, Joe. I just want to breeze over that. That was pretty good. That was good.
Mark, thank you.
Just call me Pearl Jam from now on. So that Space Needle, I've been up it once, and there's an elevator that you have to get into from the bottom, obviously, like from an inside, like a gift shop. And so you get in the elevator, and then once it gets past the first floor, it's open air, and you don't realize that that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
And even if I told you, you'd be like, "Oh, okay." But as soon as that air starts to hit you as you go up, it's scary, man.
It's scary.
I'm scared of heights.
I kind of am too, a little bit. I don't like them. Let's put it that way. I don't like them.
And so, anyways, when you go up to the Space Needle, I've been up there, like I said, and I wouldn't go close to the edge. I was like, I feel like I'm going to fall over.
Same, dude. Same.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. And when they're in the Space Needle, this senator is talking and he's giving a speech, and suddenly he's shot and killed.
Oh man, it was so abrupt. That's what I mean by they suck you in right away with the action. Like I thought this was going to be a movie where it took a while to kind of get going, but this did not. It was just right away. Here we go.
Yep.
I was like, oh, and you get like the blood splattered across the window.
Oh yeah.
It's obviously an assassination. There's something I caught here though.
Okay.
So obviously there was a shooter and they're kind of chasing him or whatever, but I saw a second guy put away a gun.
Yeah. That's the point.
But they only ever chase one dude, and they chase him and they've run. I don't know what this dude's plan was, but he runs on top of the Space Needle.
Yep.
It's like, what are you doing up there? What's the exit strategy?
Well, he ends up wrestling with security and falls to his death.
Yeah.
So think about it, Greg. Think about, so there's two shooters here.
Right.
So think about the time period that this movie was filmed after.
Oh.
And that's a big part of this.
I picked up the what it was alluding to in regards to that.
So like
you got
to think about like the where we are in American history when this movie is.
What year was this movie?
74. So probably filmed in 73. So we're
73.
So we're
what year was
Vietnam.
Kennedy assassinated?
63.
63.
Martin Luther King
what year was
is 68, I think.
And Robert F. Kennedy?
71, I think.
Wasn't there another one that they attempted to assassinate?
I mean, there's been multiple.
RFK was 68.
68, okay. So we have like prominent figures in American politics and in American society that have been assassinated. Conspiracies are circling all of these, especially the John F. Kennedy conspiracy, which still is prevalent to this day. And one of the parts of the Kennedy conspiracy is that, and this is going to come up again in another part of this movie, is that there's more than one shooter, and that Lee Harvey Oswald is thought to have been, by some people, and many, many books have written about this, that he's a patsy, right? He is a stand-in for the actual shooter. He's a sacrificial lamb, which to me, when I watched this first scene, I'm like, that's exactly what they're saying.
It felt the same.
Yes.
I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here, Joe.
Okay.
You ever been to the book depository in Dallas?
Oh yeah.
Have you done the tour of the museum?
Oh yes.
And so you've seen the window that he shot from.
Yep.
Right. After doing that tour, I also did one where, and this is a little off topic, but kind of in the same realm. When I moved to Dallas, I went down and did all the things.
Mm-hmm.
That window doesn't make any sense for Lee Harvey to shoot from.
Nope.
It makes no sense. Like, he should have shot him earlier if he was going to shoot him.
Right.
He should have shot him head on, not when he turned the corner.
Right.
Real suspect.
Dude,
also,
makes you think.
I went to the house that Lee Harvey lived in when he did the shooting, and the lady that owns the house still lives there, and she happened to come out and talk to us while we were there.
What?
Yeah, I was like, whoa. And she basically was like telling us, oh yeah, this was Lee Harvey's room, and she was kind of telling us some stuff. And my friend Kendra goes, hey, what's something about Lee Harvey that people don't ask you about that you think people should know?
Great question.
I was like, ooh, everybody got real quiet.
Yep.
And she basically started to tell us that when she lived there, she was a child, and when Lee Harvey was there, obviously, and she wasn't allowed to play with the boys in the front yard, so she had to do homework. And she was dyslexic, and Lee Harvey was dyslexic as well. And he realized that. And so he would help her with her homework like every day. Like, just sit at the kitchen table. He would make his sandwiches. She was like, the man loves sandwiches. That's all he ate every day. And he would just help her with homework all the time. I've done that drive from that house to the book depository, and they say that Lee Harvey did that in like 40 minutes. There's no way that he walked that. They say he walked that in 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that happened. It's not a conspiracy. Outside the building, It says where Lee Harvey allegedly shot John F. Kennedy. That's what it says, and everyone's scratched out allegedly, because after you go there and see it, you're like, bruh.
Yeah, I've read probably 10 books on the Kennedy assassination, and there's so many things. Why was Lee Harvey Oswald why was he allowed to defect to the Soviet Union in the 50s and then come back with no penalty? Like, there's just so many things, so many weird things. So I'm 100% with you. And this movie pulls a lot from JFK, I think, from the JFK assassination. The first thing to me is this shooting, where you're like, there's two shooters, they're only chasing one, and that guy dies. And then we get the tribunal, which is really, again, incredible. This is cinematography stuff. Mark, I'm sure you're into this. Awesome shot. It's like a panel of seven guys sitting in these big leather chairs. There's a big American bald eagle behind them, like a seal. And basically they're reading out, this is, we have done an investigation. First of all, they say, we're not taking any questions. That's the first thing they say. There will be no questions answered. But we have done our investigation into the shooting death, the assassination of U.S. Senator Charles Carroll. And we find that this guy, whoever the guy is, they name him, but it's the original, the waiter who falls off the Space Needle. They're like, he acted alone. There was no conspiracy. This matter's closed, basically. And that's the opening to this movie. And you get the Parallax View title after that, which is like, oh, fuck.
And the cinematographer does the same thing, where it's a slow back away shot into like what looks like an abyss. It is just the seven heads.
Oh yeah.
Very small, like they're just getting smaller and smaller. And you kind of get that, again, it's just that immediate sense that there's something bigger.
Yes.
There's something more sinister, and something that like these guys are just a small part of.
So badass.
These guys are they're the dealer. Someone's giving them a job.
God damn it, Mark. I love it.
It's cool. No, it's badass.
Hey, there was something that happened also at the Space Needle that we got to mention.
Okay.
They show a group of people getting ready to go up the elevator, and then we see someone trying to get on, and he goes, "Oh, I'm with her," and they stop her, and she turns around and looks at him and goes, "Nope."
That's the news anchor, the woman who's kind of narrating it. Yeah, and that's Warren Beatty.
Yeah, that was Warren Beatty.
Yes.
I didn't catch that at first. I didn't realize that was our main actor, our protagonist, until I kind of had to because like you said, Joe, they don't tell you like what's going on or anything like that. You just kind of have to figure it out yourself. Very quickly. So that's something that was easily missed. But if you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, that was Warren Beatty trying to sneak onto the elevator, and he wasn't able to get up there.
Yeah,
and they're competing reporters, so she was like, no.
Yeah, and it's obvious they know each other. Exactly. They have a history. Exactly.
There's history.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to bring up, what the hell are they using to film her? You see that big ass thing?
Huge.
It's like silver?
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know, man. It's cameras at the time.
Fake? I thought it was fake.
No, it's real.
It looked like they like put like PVC pipe together and like, oh, here, this looks like a camera.
It's like,
we're going to call this a camera.
Before like the shoulder mounted camcorder. Like when I was a kid, you had the camcorder that had the VHS tape in it.
Yeah,
and this is even
was
before
like a
that.
body thing with like this. Dude, I was like, this is my first note is, what the shit was that? So,
we'll get a picture of that for some listeners down the road.
Well, so now we move on, and we're basically like 3 years later.
3 years later, and if you weren't confused by what was going on, let's get even more confusing, like right out the rip.
Yeah, and so first of all, the journalist that we're talking about, the woman journalist, her character's name is Lee Carter.
Lee Carter.
She comes to Warren Beatty. She's like knocking on the door.
But before that, we get Warren Beatty knocking on someone's door.
Oh yeah,
basically
that's
say,
yeah.
He goes, someone answers the door, and he goes, "Hi, my parrot's loose in your backyard." I was like, "What?" I was like, "This is so Seattle."
Yeah.
People knocking on doors, trying to get their parrots.
Yeah.
And he just like lets himself in and walks clean through the house and goes into the backyard saying he's looking for his parrot. And then he closes the door, and like the police come in chasing after him.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we start to learn that he's an investigative journalist.
Yep.
And he's kind of a maverick, right? He's kind of like, a cool guy. Hey man, I'm a journalist. I'm a little bit of a hippie kind of. He kind of argues with his boss a little bit about like, what the hell are you doing? Like your career sucks.
Wears a bunch of denim.
Wears a lot of double denim, which is kind of honestly pretty cool. He has like a trucker jacket that I really like. Anyway, good hair. We talked about his hair. Good hair. Handsome guy.
Why don't you marry him, Joe?
Dude, just the guy was a playboy. He was a very noted stick man in the 70s. Let's say that.
Stick man. What is a stick man for our young listeners, Joe?
I think we all can put together what that means.
A
stick man, swordsman.
So he carries a rapier on his side.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
His boss gets after him, saying that he's reporting about a local drug problem, but that he's the problem.
Yeah.
Little did they know that Seattle would become such a drug problem area.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. So the next part of the big part of the plot that comes up, his name is Joe, and she visits
Joseph Frady.
Yes.
And this is confusing if you're watching it because he will be referred to as any of those three names throughout the movie.
Yeah.
He's called Joseph, he's called Joe, and he's called Frady.
Correct. Yeah.
Among some other pseudonyms he takes on.
He does have some aliases, yeah. She basically comes to him and she's really upset, right? And she's like, they're trying to kill me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, a bunch of these witnesses to this assassination, this Senator Carroll's assassination, they're all dying from these crazy, like inexplicable means. It doesn't make sense. And I think I'm next. And I'm really scared. And
she sounds very paranoid.
Yes.
She dumps out her purse so she can get a clove.
Yeah, exactly. She's paranoid. And he basically shrugs it off. He's like, that's crazy. Nothing's happening. Like, why are you worried? Don't worry about this.
So this is my first issue.
Okay.
Anyone else have an issue with this?
No.
Just me? No?
No.
What's your issue, Joe, or Mark?
So this guy's supposed to be a maverick, right? You know, investigative journalism, he's going to get his story. If this person that he has a history with is coming to him saying, like, he already knows, I think they kept saying, like, he's like, no, only 4 have died.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, 6. And he's all
6 out of 18.
Yep.
He's all, I haven't heard of this. Like, why would he brush her off so hard when she's like coming to him for a story? I know he was being a stick man. I don't know who that.
I thought that was his ex-wife.
Had a girl with him,
dude.
I thought that was his ex-wife the first go.
Some gal.
Yeah.
Stick man.
Yeah, it's just some gal. He's handsome.
Here's the thing.
Covered this.
So Mark, here's what I took from that. I see where you're going. I kind of got the feeling that he's a little bit of a slapdick. He's kind of,
but he doesn't show that in the movie, though.
But like his whole thing with his boss, he's kind of lazy, and I just felt like he was just kind of listless and like, I don't know, until he really locks in on the Parallax story. That was what I took from that, is why he wasn't really concerned.
We're blaming this on empty sack.
Yeah, he's just kind of lazy, because really,
I don't know.
I mean, well, another thing that we got to talk about is this is somewhat, there's some conjecture here, but a large number of people that witnessed the Kennedy assassination that were on record, they're in the Warren Commission report about having witnessed the Kennedy assassination. They were interviewed multiple times. Their names are all over the Warren report. Dozens of them died very weirdly after the Kennedy assassination. Weird heart conditions that no one knew about, single car accidents, suicide, just very weird things. And you can literally Google witnesses to JFK, and you will see there's a list of people like just very strange way to die. So again, another thing that's like ripped from real life, which is as a plot vehicle in this movie, which I think is great and really interesting.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But again, to the point, maybe he should have believed her. I just felt like
sure.
It just didn't make sense.
Well, he 100% should have believed her, because the next scene is her body on a gurney, like she's getting, yeah, she's dead, and she died. And what is the? She mixed drugs and alcohol and suspected suicide. He was like, what?
They said that she had like a large amount of alcohol and barbiturates.
Yeah, and so he's immediately like, now he's alerted, Mark, and it seems like he's kind of guilty about it.
Hey, this is a cool scene though when they show her dead body because you've got the doctors talking, and then when they kind of walk off, then we see
awesome
or Joseph Frady step into the scene. You're like, oh, he was there the whole time.
Yeah, it's like they shoot it where she's laying on the examining table with just her head exposed, and the camera slowly backs out of the room, and it backs out through a doorway. And after the doctor finishes speaking, which you never see, the camera's only on her the whole time. After it backs out of the room, and there's like a second where no one says anything, then Warren Beatty walks out of the room. Awesome scene. Very cool shot. Very
and
cool.
Even prior to that shot, he's like, she's like, they're embrace, like she like walks outside, and he's like, I don't believe you, and he like embraces her, and you kind of see her, through the silhouette of the curtain, and the camera backs out, and then it's that crazy ass. I'm gonna keep saying it, juxtaposition where you're like, oh shit, she's dead.
That's her dead body. Yes.
It's the 70s. I can't imagine. I can't imagine how many like sudden changes like that happened back then, where you're like, oh, maybe they'll like have sex, and then she's just lying dead, cold blue on a table, and you're like, oh shit.
That's a different movie.
It's a different movie. Yeah, and so she mentioned one of the things that she mentioned was this little town called Salmon Tail, which
I don't think that's a real place.
It can't be, but it's somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. And there's another witness that died recently, this Judge Arthur Bridges, who was a witness to the shooting. And she's like, this is a really suspicious death. He drowned by himself. And this is one of the things that Warren Beatty's character like shakes off, but he remembers this salmon tail, and he tells his boss, he's like, hey, I'm going to go look into this. So he goes up to the small town.
Hold on. Before he goes to the small town, he talks to some dude on that little kiddie train.
Oh, the FBI agent. Yes.
Oh, so he goes to the FBI agent, and
he
finds out that there's a pill that can give you a heart attack. That can make it look like you have had a heart attack.
Yeah, embolism. Yep. It's what they call it, something ESP. I forgot what it stood for, but it was like something embolism, shock, something.
Pulmonary shock.
Pulmonary embolism pill, PEP is what they call it.
Yeah.
And he's basically like, could this happen? All these people are dying, weird heart attacks, healthy people, they never had any health problems, they die of a heart attack at age 40. And the FBI agent's like, yeah, that exists. And so right away we get Warren Beatty's like, I'm going to look into this. I need to can you give me a fake name? And he gets.
This is where we get the weenie wagger. line.
Yeah.
All right, you have to explain this to me, Joe, because I kind of got lost here a little bit. What was going on here?
So I think what they're doing is his FBI contact is basically creating like a cover alias and giving him someone who has a little bit of a criminal history, but like a military background. I think he said, oh, let's say you're like in the Marines, but you got kicked out or something. So they give him like a little bit of a cover story so he can be different when he goes and starts to do this infiltration stuff that he's going to do.
And they say that he got kicked out for being a weenie wagger.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense to me now.
Okay.
Very cool shot again.
The train.
When he starts he like walks up to talk to this person, and all you hear is voices. For a second, I was like, who the hell's talking?
Yeah.
It's just a wide shot of them, like two people on the left, two people on the right. I'm like, who the hell's talking right now?
That's not something they kind of don't do that in movies anymore.
No, man.
And I think that's indicative to the time that this movie was made, because there's other movies where you'll see some of that, where you'll hear talking and you'll just see people really far away, and you're like left to assume that this is who is speaking.
These movies challenge you. That's what's awesome about them.
It was cool.
I don't think that they're challenging you intentionally.
Oh, see, I think they are.
I think it is. I think everything's intentional.
Yeah,
man.
This is a craft. This is art, Greg. The fuck?
Oh, art, you say?
Again, it's another scene that could have just been done in a set. Boom, 5 minutes. Let's get everyone the hell out. They said no. Let's do a wide shot angle of this parking lot behind them. This.
I don't have to say anything. Mark, just do it all. This is awesome.
This weird ass train shot, and they're like, all right, we're gonna have them sit, and then we're gonna have just the camera stay still as shit. One shot. Have them get into the train. The train just
goes around the
off
track.
Screen. So it's so unnecessary. It's
fucking cool.
It's on purpose.
Yeah.
It's all on purpose.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark gets it. Greg, Kind of
I
trailing
get this
behind a
one.
little bit.
Hey,
This one I
you
get.
want to hear the worst joke of the movie?
No. Yes, go ahead.
He goes out to Salmon Tail,
Yeah.
and he walks into a bar, and one of the bartenders goes up to him and asks him if he wants a martini. And she says, "One ain't." They're like boobs because one ain't enough and three's too many.
Only except for Total Recall.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I thought about. I was like, this predates Total Recall.
That's right. Greg, did you recognize the guy who's like starting shit with him?
Oh yeah, I did. I found it.
Yeah.
This is probably another big star, but I don't think most people would recognize him by his face because you never see his face as Wilson, the neighbor in Home Improvement.
It's old time, baby. Yeah.
What in the world?
The guy that goes up to him and starts like he's straight up he's just antagonizing him.
Yeah.
He's being like a real prick about it because he ordered milk at the bar.
Oh well, that's not why, dude. It's because the girls were immediately interested.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
Warren Beatty's he was fucking babe.
Yeah, when he walks in, like I think that the deputy says something along the lines of like your date's here.
Yeah.
Something like that. Hey, this is my hard scene of the movie.
Hard.
Can I tell you why this is my hard scene?
Oh hell yeah.
Because this scene is done again in another movie that we're all very fond of on this show. It's a little show. It's a little movie you might be familiar. A little Paul Walker.
God damn.
A little Jordana Brewster.
How did this happen?
Oh
yeah. Oh my god.
It is
Get
almost
out of here.
identical. Except
he
doesn't
tuna,
ask for
no crust.
Yeah, he asked for milk.
Oh my god.
But
you guys are fucking
in my
right.
favorite movie, he asks for tuna, and that guy's all, "There's no way you're going to talk to Jordana Brewster," and Vin Diesel's just sitting back there,
wow,
sweating beads.
You should watch those movies, Joe. They're pretty good.
I've seen one, and I've seen
It's
one.
basically a Western.
I've seen the other one with The Rock.
There's multiple with The Rock.
I saw the first one with the. Okay, I'm going to go on a tangent here real quick, and this is a slight preview of maybe some content upcoming. The scene, there's a movie where The Rock. These movies are about these fucking guys who all they love to do is drive around in cars, stealing cars, working on cars.
Damn right.
And The Rock goes, "Whatever you do,
badass movie.
Don't let them get into cars." It's like, what the fuck? How are they not going to get into cars? How are we going to stop them from that?
You can't. That's
He's
why
not wrong.
it's so good.
He's not wrong.
Yeah,
don't let him get in cars.
It doesn't work out. Anyway.
Oh, all right.
What do you think about the fight scene?
Hard moment though.
When?
This is it. When the deputy goes up to him and he's antagonizing him.
Yeah.
And he basically touches him, and our hero Joseph turns around and goes, "Don't touch me unless you love me."
I did like that. Great line. Yeah.
I was like, damn, that was cool.
Yeah. Pretty good fight scene.
Fight scene's badass.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was badass.
It's money.
I don't know. It felt very like staged. Felt like oh, pick me up and slam me on the pin and on the
I liked
table.
it.
How about
throw me through the window?
The
a runner
the best.
runner up for the hard scene for me would have been that the deputy kicks his ass and he throws him through a window. The deputy's walking off. He's arrogant. All of a sudden, Joseph, boom, busts through the other window and knocks him out. That was badass.
That's good.
It was cool.
That's
it
good.
was cool.
That's good. I don't know.
But, hold on.
Go on.
Have you ever seen Boss Rutan's video on self-defense?
Yes.
So he's got a whole video on self-defense. And Boss Rutan is a former UFC heavyweight champion.
Yeah, Grand Prix champ. Yeah.
Yeah. He basically looks like the old logo for the UFC, the bald guy.
Mm-hmm.
He had a self-defense video series that takes place in a bar.
It's so funny.
It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
But it's funny because he's being serious.
Yeah, well, is he?
I don't think he was joking, because he used to be a bouncer, and I think the idea is he's showing the audience, hey, this is like an instructional on like how to de-escalate and some self-defense tips for like dealing with drunken guys who want to fight in a bar.
Yeah, he's like, so I say, hey, buddy, I don't want to fight. And then he turns around and I grab the beer, I throw it in his face, and I grab his head and I bang it right there on the table. Don't you ever do that.
We need to cut that in. It's so funny. He's like, I
It's-
take my thumb, I jam it into his eye. It's like none of this would be. You're going to prison for all this stuff. First of all, you're not de-escalating any of this. It's so good. Bong,
I think
bong,
Boss Rutan
bong. It's great.
Yeah, I think he's the best color commentator that
He's
MMA's ever had.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
I'm glad we brought this up because I have a question for y'all. A little maybe jiu-jitsu corner here.
Okay.
You're approached. So say you're in Beatty's shoes.
Yeah.
You order milk.
I don't like milk,
All right.
but all right.
You're just ordering milk, Joe. It's just
Okay.
he has to come over and judge you.
Okay.
And you're like super handsome. That girl wants you real bad. You and Greg.
Sounds like real life.
It's real life. So, what are you doing if a dude just comes up to you like that? Real close. Like what's the move here? He's going to attack you. There's no way to stop. What are we doing here?
Double unders.
Double unders.
Yeah?
That's exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
Immediate?
And it's much easier done. I'm trying to get as close to you as possible in that scenario.
And he's already in your grill.
He's getting double unders. Top of my head under his chin.
I'm just gonna hug him into the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, right into the ground.
Oh, yeah.
So unders 4.
Now I'm on top. Go to mount.
I'm doing whatever I
Armbar?
want at that point. I'm
anything
having
I
a
wanna do.
conversation with someone else
Yeah.
on the side.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's over.
And,
There you go.
he,
There you go.
he's got clothes on. He's probably getting cross collar choked just because that's what I felt like doing today.
Yeah. I really like the line too. The line is good, Greg. Don't touch me unless you love me.
Don't touch me unless you love me.
Because he's like, you're a girl, aren't you? Because he has like longer hair. So it like fits. It's good. Good jiu-jitsu corner segue there, Mark. One of our recurring segments.
I'm going to steal that line. I need to pocket that for future use.
Yeah. Put that in your pocket there.
While you're rolling, you should mention that.
Yeah.
I probably will, but
Report
don't
back.
grab that hand unless you love me.
Report back. Well, he meets the sheriff. This guy,
he finds out that the guy's the sheriff.
Yeah.
He after he knocks the dude out, he says he needs to call the police, and the sheriff's like, "Well, you're not going to have to go very far because that guy's a deputy, and I'm the sheriff.
He's my sister's kid. He's an idiot or something," which I thought was funny. And so
Yeah.
basically, he's like, "Hey, I'm looking into this judge's death, this drowning death. Can you talk me through like the crime scene?" And the sheriff's like, yeah. It's at this dam. And let's go meet me up there tomorrow and I'll show you. We'll kind of walk through it, which we do. And it's, again, beautiful scenery. Mark, this is another scene where Warren Beatty is basically up there fishing on the rocks of this dam. And it's shot from he is tiny. It is shot from so far away, which is awesome. Looks cool.
If this movie didn't have your attention, at this point, it probably did. Because the sound alone of that alarm, I didn't know dams made an alarm sound.
Yes.
Before that shit happened, I had no clue. But the way they recorded it, oh God, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you'll talk about it, Joe, but they're standing there, they're having a little conversation. He's fishing for whatever reason. He has a fish.
Just killing time. I took it as there's not much to do here.
Couple guys.
Yep.
Couple guys. We just had some whiskey.
Yep.
Let's go a little fishing.
Well, I thought that what they were doing was because someone had died out there, and so he was following up with it.
That's the judge, the witness. Yeah.
The judge was railroaded out there somehow.
Why is he fishing? Was my question.
Well, the judge was up there fishing, and so I think it was just kind of hey, meet me up here. Fishing is like a pastime up here, and I think Warren Beatty was just killing time before he was going to meet the sheriff. The sheriff shows up, is like, "Hey, brought you some lunch," and tosses it to him, and then he turns around, he's got his pistol on him.
That caught me by surprise.
Mm-hmm. And the alarm's blaring.
I did not. Yeah, because he was saying so the guy died out here, and he didn't hear that alarm.
How could he not hear
died
this?
Drowning?
Right.
Yeah. But that alarm is impossible to not hear.
Right.
But you only know that if you go there and experience it yourself.
Yes. So it's clear that this guy is trying to kill Warren Beatty's character, let him drown force him to stay there at gunpoint until the water just sweeps him away. Warren Beatty decides, I don't think so, whips him with the fishing rod. Holy shit.
Oh, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like,
I did not expect
like
that.
Indiana Jones bullwhip style. Pretty cool.
If you've ever been hit by a fishing pole, or if you ever, I grew up down by the coast, and pretty much anyone that has ever gone fishing gets a fishing hook caught on them at some point. It sucks. It's brutal.
Yeah,
he hits him in the face.
Hits him in the face.
We get like a blood streak across his face, and then they get into a tussle
as the water is like cascading.
As the water's coming down.
Which again, this is 1974. They had to do that. Like that water. They had to open that dam and shoot these actors fighting in the water, and he's trying to claw up the rock. Like, there's no, maybe there's stuntmen doing it, but those are two people doing that.
Yo, they were in that raging water.
Yes.
Like, you could kind of tell that was not staged at all. You can kind of see them, like, they're like almost trying to help each other out at one point.
Yeah.
Like, get up on the rock.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
awesome.
This is real.
So Warren Beatty like gets out of the river, and we skipped over the part that he basically meets the sheriff at his house the night before, because Warren Beatty jumps in the sheriff's squad car, goes to the house, and is kind of like ransacking it, looking for anything to like give him some clue as to why this happened, what's going on. Another really cool scene. So first of all, he finds this document, a set of documents that's from this group called the Parallax Corporation. And it's basically like an ad about, you may have some skills that we could use. There's like a questionnaire there, basically like a recruiting pamphlet. And so he's like, there's something.
If life's been hard on you,
yes,
kind of thing.
Yes.
You know?
And a scene that I really thought was cool was this is like, the shot is Warren Beatty. It's shot from like a hallway, and the room is basically split in half. You're looking down the hallway towards where the door would be on the right side. Behind that is where Warren Beatty is going through this desk, and you see the deputy that he got in the fight with the night before coming into the house. He enters the house. He's quiet. You don't hear anything. And Warren Beatty's just got his head down. He's going through stuff, and it's from far away. The deputy comes in, and you're like, oh shit, he's going to catch him, like right in the middle of ransacking the sheriff's house. And the phone rings. And as soon as the phone rings, Warren Beatty doesn't move because he's like, there's nobody here but me, and I'm not answering the phone. The deputy picks the phone up and is like, hello. And you see Warren Beatty like jump, turn around. You're like, oh, fuck. And so he ends up he takes this set of documents, runs out to the car. The deputy sees him, finds out that the sheriff drowned, and there's a car chase. I don't know if you guys wanted to go car chase crazy here. Go for it.
Oh, yeah. I gotta point this out because does everybody just leave their keys in the car here?
It was the 70s.
70s, bro. You didn't even lock your fucking door.
I love this part.
The thing
there's seatbelts. I mean, there were, but
yeah, I think the seatbelt law went into effect in like the late 60s.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that he had stole the sheriff's car and it was parked outside. The deputy shows up and he goes, his car's here. He's like talking on the phone. And Warren Beatty steals the other dude's car.
Yeah.
because it was blocking him in.
Yeah.
And then we get this cool car scene chase. The car scene chase is actually pretty fun. Between the fight scene that just happened and then the car scene chase and then the kind of fight in the river, that's probably the majority of the physical action in this movie.
Yep.
But we get a real Dukes of Hazzard jump at one point here where that car just goes flying.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is not making it, man.
No.
I don't know.
That thing is those cars are heavy, and the fact that he got that much air, that car would have been shredded. But whatever.
I like
70s.
the mud thing.
Oh
That
yeah,
was cool.
To distinguish the between the two
I thought
cars.
that was
right?
a cool
That's like
touch.
that was a very cool touch. So like the car slides and gets a bunch of mud on the side of it. So now we can tell which car belongs to the deputy and which car belongs to Joseph.
Because they're both police cruisers. So you're like, which car is
They
which
look the
here?
same.
Yeah, they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Smart move. It looks cool. He crashes into drives into a grocery store, basically like a supermarket.
Yeah,
which is insane, and gets away.
Then runs out the back door with the briefcase that he had taken from the sheriff's house, and then he jumps on like a moving truck, all Back to the Future.
Yeah, basically.
I assume some kind of like vendor, like it was probably like dropping off produce or something.
Yeah, because
it's like being the luckiest man alive.
Yeah,
and then we get like the Eddie Money soundtrack needle drop. No, I'm just kidding. That's not in this.
That's not in here. So we flash forward, and one of the things I like about this movie is that it doesn't waste time with like, how did he get back and where did he go? They're like, we're not concerned with that. We're concerned with what's happening with this corporation. Like, there's no scenes of him like hitchhiking or getting another car or getting back. It's just like we're back. He survived that. He got out. He's back, because that's what we're focusing on.
Dude, there's no filler in this movie.
No filler.
Like you weren't wrong. You have to pay attention, or you will lose what the hell just happened.
Yep.
It just goes from scene to scene.
Yep. Yeah, because the next scene is basically him talking to a psychology professor that he knows about this basically like this test that he has found that is pretty much a filter, a recruiting tool for like recruiting violent people is basically what they go through. And I've seen this movie many times, but I remember not totally getting what the exercise that they were working through. Basically, there's a guy there in what looks like prison fatigues, and it's clear that he is a prisoner. And the psychologist says, "Hey, let's have he's like, let's have Henry take it." And Joe Frady, Ernie. And Frady's like, "Who's Ernie?" He's like, "Oh, he's this one of my subjects. He killed whoever. He killed two people, his mom and sister." What did he say, Greg? There's something. He's a murderer.
Yeah, he's a murderer. It's like, oh, you just happen to have one just hanging around?
Test subject, prisoner? Man. Yeah. So he's like, we're gonna give it to this guy, this homicidal maniac. We're gonna let him take the Parallax Corporation test, because we don't know what this is, except he reads through and he's like, this is like looking for like violent tendencies. So the killer takes the test, and the next scene we get is basically moving on to another strand of the sweater here that Joe Frady's pulling at, which is this Austin Tucker character. And we didn't talk about him in the beginning, but we can talk about him now.
Austin Tucker is better known to many people as Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World.
Yep. About 20 years
You might not even
that.
recognize him. Yeah, you might not even recognize him because he's so young here.
His voice is really recognizable to me.
Yeah, then I messaged you about him, Joe, when I was watching this, because that dude, he stuck out to me amongst all the other actors.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason why.
Yeah.
And once you said it, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So his character's name is Austin Tucker, and he is actually in the beginning of the movie, he's getting interviewed very briefly, and he was like the top political advisor to the senator who was murdered, Senator Carroll, who's murdered at the beginning at the Space Needle. And he is mentioned by Frady's reporter friend as someone who has reached out and said, hey, something's going on here. I've had attempts on my life, basically. Two people, there's been 2 attempts on my life. So Frady goes to meet with him, and again, he's trying to figure out what is going on with this conspiracy that's kind of widening as this movie goes. And this is the scene on the boat.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in here. So basically, Joseph talks to Austin Tucker and his weird assistant.
Yep, his bodyguard.
And they're on a boat.
Well, he shows him the picture of the other waiter, the other shooter.
And they're drinking wine on the boat.
Of course.
As one does on a sailboat.
Yep.
And he's basically having this whole conversation with them. But then again, this movie just startles you with some of the things that it does.
Yep.
So we've got our hero standing on the bow of the boat. All of a sudden, the boat explodes.
Boat explodes.
Killing Austin Tucker and his weird assistant.
Yep. And he's blown off the boat or dives off the boat.
Yeah, he gets, since he's not near the explosion,
right.
He lives. But basically, there's a paper that prints something that says that they're all dead.
Yes.
Joseph ain't dead, though.
Nope. And this is where he goes. So he learns that there was another shooter. He sees the picture of the other shooter. That's one of the things that Austin Tucker shows him. Hey, look at this guy. This guy was there at the Carol's assassination of the Space Needle. So he sees this guy's face. He goes to his boss. He's like, listen, something's going on. He gives him the story. He's like, I'm going to basically apply to this Parallax Corporation. They're tied up in this. This is the documents that I found at the sheriff's place. We had this guy take the test. I'm going to apply to the Parallax Corporation because they listed it as being searching for security operatives. That's what they called their outreach to try and hire people for. And so
were they trying to hire hitmen?
Basically, yes. And this is like a domestic terrorist group for hire is what I took it as. And we start to learn that.
You had to take the questionnaire with all the really vague questions.
Yeah. Greg, did you ever see that? That magazine, Soldier of Fortune? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, remember that, like in the grocery stores and stuff?
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone mention that magazine, that's a deep memory that I haven't thought of in many years.
Same, but I remember like flipping through Soldier of Fortune, and Soldier of Fortune was like almost like a guns and ammo type of magazine where it was like, you know, Green Berets and M16s, and it was like all this like post Vietnam thing where it was like you could buy weapons, but if you flip to the back of that magazine, I remember doing this at like the grocery store. There's like ads for thinly veiled like hitman for hire type of like seeking a security I'm serious, seeking a black ops professional for a private matter, like shit like that. And so they
had like a wanted section in the back of the magazine.
Oh yeah, 100%. And so
it's like before Craigslist, people just straight up put it in printed magazines.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what it was. And so I really got that feeling that that's kind of what this Parallax Corporation was modeled on, was like that kind of idea. And a couple days after he tells his editor, hey, I'm basically going to be going undercover here, he gets contacted and they say, hey, this guy comes to his apartment, this guy Jack, and was like, hey, you've got quite the background, and we basically want to talk to you about maybe coming to work for us. And they're super vague about what this is. And he's like, hey, I want you to...
They told him that his scores were great.
Yeah. Which, of course, we know, and now Joe knows. He kind of knows what he's getting here, because he's like, we gave the test to this psychopath. So if they think the scores are good, I'm on to something here. This is fucked up.
I took a screenshot of some of the questions on the questionnaire that you had to fill out. I'll read you a couple of them here. Let's see. I have never been in love. Sometimes I wish I were dead. You're supposed to answer these true or false or something of that effect.
Yeah.
I feel cramped indoors. Religion doesn't worry me. Policemen are often dishonest.
It's like all this like antisocial leanings, right?
Yep.
So now we get to...
This is basically the intro line from our podcast.
That's exactly right, dude. Where he's like, welcome to the human...
They sit him down in a chair, and then you get that intro line that we use.
Welcome to the testing room.
And then they make him watch this, like, crazy video.
We need to talk about this video. I've seen this movie several times, many times. This movie still disturbs me, this video that he watches. Because they're like, they put it, first of all, he walks into this room, and there's like, it's all dark. Mark, you're going to like this, I think. Where the light is just right on this, like, big armchair. And you can't see anything else, and there's a voice overhead that's where the line comes from, where it's like, welcome to the Parallax Corporation's Division of Human Engineering. And they give him like these instructions, like, sit in this chair, make sure your fingertips are on these squares, because we're going to basically like test your physiological response to this fucking psychopathic movie that you're about to watch. And I thought that scene is just like really cool and well shot. Again, darkness and shadow and light and everything, really cool.
The video they make him watch starts off by basically showing him stuff that says family, and then they show pictures of families.
Yep.
Then they say me, and then they show a picture of a few things. One of the pictures that they keep coming back to is Thor, whenever they say me, then it's a picture of Thor, the God of Thunder, from Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it's like this weird soundtrack. Like the music is like this, almost like patriotic, like uplifting music, and it's like, you're right, Greg. It's like mother, and it shows like a woman like with her kid, and it says father, and it shows like a guy like carving a turkey, and then it starts, and it was like America, God, and then it shows all these images, and then the images start to get like really weird and
darker.
Twisted. Yes,
yeah,
people getting shot.
It leans into the Oedipus complex, and it starts showing pictures of Nazi Germany, and then it says me, and it shows like Thor again.
Yep. There's a ton of like what looks like pictures from like protests, pictures of war, buildings burning, people being stabbed. It's just like, and again, this music is like this rising crescendo of like this super swelling orchestral, like patriotic music. It's like, it gives me like goosebumps to think about it. It's creepy as shit. It's so well done.
It like gave me feelings of like the first time you saw Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
And he's in the chair with his eyes.
Yes.
Oh,
like that.
Taped open. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the little metal things around them. So I had to look it up. The Clockwork Orange came out in 71.
Mm-hmm.
This one came out in 74. So I was almost like, well, maybe they took like a little.
Oh yeah.
Because it seemed very like brainwashy.
For sure.
Like, yeah, it was a test, but it was also like brainwashy. Like, are you like, do you have these similar values?
Yes.
When you see these photos, kind of thing.
All the subliminal hints and like, what's your body reacting to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, do you think Hitler's bad?
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it was really cool to see, man. It's so disturbing. I wasn't expecting something like that, and it takes up the whole screen.
Like, great call.
It's the whole screen.
Yeah, you never.
For
that's
like
a great
3
point.
minutes.
You never get a shot of Warren Beatty watching it. He sits down.
It's like you're watching
exactly, and I think that's obviously what they're trying to do. He sits down, and it's
doing.
like the screen is you're watching what he's watching. You don't see his reaction. You don't see him moving around or like, ooh, I don't like this. It's just you watching it, which makes it worse. Very cool,
dude. I had to check. I had to be like, I like grabbed my remote and I was like,
is this?
I was like, did something switch?
Should it be?
Did I put it on the wrong movie? Did it?
Yeah, it's scary, man.
It was weird. And then he just gets up and he's like,
"That's it.
All right.
Yep.
Great video." And just walks off.
That's the end of the training.
What the hell?
Yep.
Cool.
Well, and it's as soon as he leaves, he's down in like the lobby of the Parallax building, and who does he spot, Greg?
He starts following Ben Harkins.
Different guy. Ben is.
Oh, he starts following someone.
Well, you know who he follows? He follows the waiter. The second shooter in the first assassination.
Oh,
that is the picture that Austin Tucker shows him. He's like, this guy was at the Space Needle shooting, and this
makes more sense now.
Yeah,
I got a little hazy in this area,
but he sees the picture of that guy. He's like, this is the fucking guy. He follows this motherfucker, and the guy goes. First of all, we're going to talk about air flight in the 1970s. It's fucking insane.
How bullshit that was.
Oh my god!
When I was watching that, I was all, wait, they don't charge you until you get on the plane,
right? So
I was like, this is like a train?
Dude.
What is this?
Well, so he basically follows this guy to the Hollywood Burbank airport, and the guy has a suitcase with him. He follows him in his car. The guy goes to a parked car, gets out, takes a briefcase out of the parked car, takes it to the airport, gets on the plane, puts his item puts the briefcase, and the whole time Warren Beatty's following him, puts the briefcase on the cart of checked bags, basically, like it's going to go on the plane, but doesn't get on the plane, which is like, what the fuck? Warren Beatty does get on the plane. So let's pause for a second to talk about air flight and air travel in the 1970s.
How easy was it to get onto the tarmac in the 70s?
So first of all, you could just walk up to a desk. We could go to the airport right now. You could walk up and be like, I want to be on the 9:45 to LA, and they're like, okay, here's your ticket. Like it's almost like a train.
I don't even think they give you a ticket. You just walk onto the plane, and then you find a seat.
Yes, which is like almost like how like buses and trains still operate. We're like,
Some trains are like that, yeah.
Where you get on and they take your ticket and have you pay for it after you're on. They don't check it like before you get on. But that's insane that you can just like walk on. And it's interesting because in the 1970s there started to be a rise in air terror. And the reason there was a rise in terror in the skies is because there was no security protocols. You could just walk in. There's no security where you would go through like how we go through TSA now to get into like a secure area before you get on the plane. You could just go to the airport and like hang out. And there were bars and restaurants in the airport, and you could just walk onto a plane. So people were taking pistols, bombs, hand grenades onto planes. There's a couple years in the 1970s where there are dozens and dozens and dozens of hijackings, air hijackings. I mean, literally, you can look them up. Lufthansa got hijacked, and people would be like, divert this plane to wherever.
They're like, how does this keep happening?
Right. And it's because there was no security measures then. So
it's like I just walked onto this plane with an AK-47 under my trench coat.
Right. I mean, that literally happened. So this is the time frame where that was like kind of that becoming a real prevalent crime. So you could just kind of do that, which is to us now, it's like, this is so foreign, but basically he's on the plane and he realizes this guy dropped a package off, but didn't get on the plane. And I know that he's an assassin who shot and killed this senator 3 years ago. Like, this is a fucking bomb. And
they do this really cool shot where they like show him like on top of a building somewhere, and you're like, oh shit,
he ain't on the plane.
It just again, it just does it so fast, it snaps.
Yes.
And again, that sudden like, oh,
like,
all right, we're in for this one.
Yeah. And so I liked how they did this, where Warren Beatty's character knows that there's a bomb, but he can't go up to anybody and be like, hey, there's a bomb, because they're going to be like, okay, how the fuck do you know? Like, come with us. So he tries to, he goes to the bathroom and writes it with a bar of soap on the mirror, there's a bomb on the plane, which I thought was funny, because then he opens the door and there's a guy like waiting to get in. He slams the door.
That's exactly what I thought of when he started writing. I was all, bro, they're going to know who wrote that.
Soon as
and then he opens the door and there's someone there. It's all, oh, he goes back in. He
like washes it off.
Basically, it washes all of it off. Then he comes back out. Or no, before he leaves, he writes down on a napkin.
Yeah.
There's a bomb on the plane on the napkin.
Right.
And they don't really show you that well, but it's pretty inferred based on what he just wrote on the mirror, which I thought was clever.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool. We saw what he just wrote on the mirror, so he definitely wrote the same thing.
We know that he needs to get this message off. And so he gives it, he like puts it in a stack of napkins that the flight attendants are serving drinks out of, so that they will uncover it and be like, oh, which is, again, they don't explain it to you, which I really like. They show him and he has gotten a drink and he's drinking his drink, and they show him, and then they cut back to the perspective of his view down the aisle of the waitress or the stewardess handing out drinks and napkins to other people. And you can tell he's like, when is she going to, like, come on, see it. And then she does. And she like looks, they don't even show her face, but she holds the napkin up and she kind of freezes. She gives this person the drink without the napkin and then walks to the front of the cabin. You're like, okay.
Again, this is like that first person view of this movie.
Yeah.
Where we're in it.
Yes.
That scene felt like it was 10 minutes long. There's like hardly no cuts.
Right.
Like you're watching her serve drinks.
Yep.
To like 10 people before she opens one of those napkins up. It's brilliant, man.
It's really good.
Also, bring back smoking cigarettes on an airplane.
A lot of smoking, bro.
Thank you for mentioning that.
A lot of smoking.
Bring it back.
A lot of smoking.
Can we talk about how horrible that is? Imagine being like, sweet, I'm next to a smoker on an airplane.
Yeah.
I'd smoke an entire pack on the way to Vegas. Just
well, one thing one thing we didn't mention is that he's kind of, when he gets on the plane, before he puts it all together, he's walking around and he hears these two people talking, and one of the guys like talking to another guy is like, you're never going to believe this article that's out about you, Senator. So he's immediately like, Senator? And then he's like, that's why this guy left a bag and didn't get on the flight, because he's trying to assassinate this political leader.
Puts it all together, connects the dots.
Yes. And so, again, this movie doesn't go through the details, but the next scene is literally the plane has touched down, because you hear over the loudspeaker, it's like a wide shot of the runway, and a car is driving by and people are walking, and the loudspeaker says, passengers on flight whatever are going to be met at the gate by airport security. Please have no fear. We're going to get you back in the air as soon as possible. And then a explosion.
Okay, that explosion, I had to watch that more than once because I was like, wait, that was so cheaply done in the 70s.
Yeah.
Shake the camera a little bit and wow.
Yeah, they shake the camera and then the explosion. I was like, wait, did the explosion actually happen, or did someone just think an explosion happened?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely probably like budget constraints and stuff. And they're like, we're not going to show the plane blowing up. But the idea is they landed, evacuated the plane, because you see Warren Beatty walking out with everybody. And you're like, okay, he basically thwarted this bomb, but the plane still fucking exploded. Which is, and again, we don't go into like the fallout. Cool. There's no like, oh, the police are coming, or there's a news article. It's like, nope, we're moving on.
Oh, the senator was saved. Nothing.
We're just like moving on, because he's like still in this. And at this point, he basically goes back to his apartment, which this is another fucking awesome shot, Mark.
Shadow shots.
Hell yeah. Baby. This shot is like, it's from his apartment. He comes in, we see his apartment, and you see someone obviously sitting on a piece of furniture, and you see his boots of his suit. The door opens, Warren Beatty comes in, it's very low light. He's like taking stuff out of his pockets, he's locking the door, and this guy says, I don't even remember what he says, but he's like, you did very well in your assessment. And Warren Beatty's like shocked, because this guy's in his room, in his apartment. And at this point, we kind of learn that he's like, why'd you use a fake name? We found out it's not really you. And he's like, I had some problems. I got kicked out. This goes back to his alias that was built. But basically, he's like, okay, we're going to check on this, but you have passed, and we're going to hire you.
He's like promising him like a job, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I got the feeling of like, oh, they're onto him.
Me too.
Like they know, but they're feeding him, like they're stringing him along a little bit. Like, hey, you got something going for you.
Yeah.
It just felt so, I don't know what that vibe. It's probably the damn music again.
Sure.
Bing, bing. But it's just that ominousity, like you're like, oh shit, like the paranoia is becoming true at this point. Like it is real.
Yeah.
Now.
Can we talk about how much money they offered him?
Sure.
25,000?
25K, bro.
I looked it up, and I believe that translates to like 160K by today's standards.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. Still not that much for killing people. Jesus Christ.
Is that yearly?
That's a year.
Yeah, 25K in the 70s is equivalent to 160,000 today.
It's a lot of coke.
So it's true. So at this point, we switch to the newspaper office with his editor. And his editor is listening to what is obviously a recording of the conversation we just watched. And his editor's like, just kind of like going about his business in his office, and he sees this guy come in. He's like, waves this guy in. It's somebody delivering his food, his dinner. And he's like, oh, you're new. He's like, oh, you're not. He says something like, you're not Billy, or you're not Mike. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm new. And the camera flips to the guy's face, and it's the assassin that planted the bomb in the plane, and the guy who was the first killer at the Carroll assassination. So we're like, fuck.
I want to stop at this scene for a second. Okay. Was this the second time we saw someone get food delivered? Like, he had gotten food delivered before?
Yeah.
Because I remember someone wearing that stupid hat.
Yes. Earlier in the movie, when he's meeting with Warren Beatty in his office, there was another delivery guy who brought the same. It looked to me like, to your point, Mark, it's like they're showing that this guy orders from the same place a lot, to the point that he recognizes.
What delivery drivers are dressing like that?
I mean, shit, dude. In the 70s, I guess. I don't know. You see, Sonic guys used to
look like a milkman.
Yeah, basically look like a milkman. Yeah,
he's delivering burgers.
Right.
Mark's fascinated by
It's crazy.
Uber Eats in the
It
70s.
is crazy. Yeah.
No, man. Now I got someone named Adriana, who's definitely someone named Carlos, dropping off my food. And I'm like, what the hell? What the shit? You're not a woman.
That's right.
Can we talk about that?
Carlos not wearing a hat. But so,
Dude, another cool shot coming up also.
okay. Well, let's talk about the shot because the movie like switches to
Who is Ben Harkins?
Ben Harkins is the guy that he fought with. But we get
That he fought with
the guy at the bar.
the deputy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wilson.
Okay, but is that who he starts following?
He will in a second.
No.
He's following.
Yeah.
He followed.
Yes.
He follows. He first follows the Parallax assassin. Then he
Yeah.
he sees Harkins. But we're basically the next shot is the editor is dead.
Another sudden shot.
Another shock, and they say, "Oh,
Yep.
he had a heart attack," and it's like as the viewer, you're like, "No, he didn't. He got fucking poisoned by the pill that the guy said you can give someone a heart attack from like a shot." Same thing.
And was he so from this scene why I wanted to stop on it also? Is he in on it as well? Because he's like counting money and shit. And...
No, I think that was just his money. What I noticed was that he put the tape recording when the guy was in the room, he was putting the tape recording in like an envelope. And if you notice that drawer that he put that in,
it's gone.
Right. The recordings are gone. So they're erasing any. So to your point, Mark, they're definitely on to Frady. They killed the editor. They're erasing these record of there ever being any conversations, any discussion about this, any recordings. That's all gone. And now we're like, oh shit, our guy's in trouble. And he doesn't fucking know. Because he gets told, hey man, you're hired for this job. You're going to meet this guy, Ben Harkins. And you got to go to Atlanta. And you're going to meet him there. That's when he sees, well, first of all, he sees Harkins, right? Which is a great move. I love how they do this. He's in the hotel. He sees Harkins and he's like, oh shit, that's the fucking deputy. And the guy, he sees him checking in. He goes to the hotel front desk and he's like, hey, that guy, I know him from somewhere. What's his last name? The guy's like, oh yeah, it's Mr. Harkins in 815. He's like, that's right. He's like, oh, okay, 815, thanks. And so he's like, I can't meet this guy. This guy knows that I'm not in the Parallax Corporation. I'm an imposter. He picks that. He gets the pamphlet, the airway pamphlet, and he calls the guy's room. He's like, hey, Ben, how much money you got left? And he's like, oh, $500. He's like, great. Take the first flight out to Maui and go to this hotel, rent a Jeep. So he basically sends this guy the fuck out of there so he doesn't have to deal with it. But, Greg, who does he see?
I can't remember. I got hazy here, Joe.
Okay, he sees the Parallax Corporation killer again.
Okay,
he sees the.
This is the part where like I get a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
I got real excited in this scene because the hotel, like instantly I saw it and I was like, oh, I stay at that hotel every year.
Crazy.
That's the Universal. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. That's the Universal Sheraton. Whoa. That area that he's following him on when they go up the escalator. That's just meeting rooms down there.
That's awesome, dude.
I was like, when I saw it, I was like, this is wild.
Know,
right, it hasn't changed at all.
Wow.
Yeah. Next year when I'm there, I'll take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah. So he again follows this guy who we now knows. He's following the Parallax assassin and he goes, they're on foot. And we also, again, another cool shot where we get like, Mark, there's like that wide shot of the hotel or basically it's the Parallax building in Atlanta.
The Parallax building.
Yeah.
They make it seem as what it is.
Yes.
It's bigger than he thought.
Yes.
He is just a small piece of this big ass, look like a 50-story building behind him.
Yes.
And again, he's just so small.
Yep.
Dude, it's just cool, man. They really start hammering it on the head at the end.
Yeah, because he follows the guy into this big, like what I thought was like a convention hall, like a big exhibit building. Huge.
It's like a school?
Something like that, yeah. like
Maybe
a big school, and it's obvious that it's during the day, and it's obvious that there's like a marching band, and there's tables, like banquet tables set up with red, white, and blue tablecloths. It's clearly that they're like setting something up. This is like a dress rehearsal for like a big event, and it turns out that the event is for another senator who is making a push to be president. This guy George Hammond, and he shows up, and they're kind of going through the whole thing. They're like, "Oh, Senator, this is about the time where you would come in," and they had these big cards. They have the student body like holding up these cards.
This seemed unnecessary to show all this.
I think it was just showing like the pageantry of it all, because they go through almost the whole, what would be like the whole production of this entrance, where they've got the whole band going, and then these kids are like holding up these cards of like pieces of a broader like mosaic, like a tapestry of like Lincoln's head, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and they bring this guy in. He comes in on a golf cart, which is fucking weird, but kind of cool, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty sick.
Awesome.
And they're like, "Oh, Senator, why don't you come up and we'll just walk through real quick. We're gonna play some of your pre-recorded speech." But so he gets up and he's like, "Oh, I'm happy to be here and
see y'all tonight.
See y'all tonight." That's right. And he waves. He gets in, and so this whole time, Warren Beatty is up on a catwalk, observing all of this down below. And on this catwalk is Jack, his Parallax contact, the Parallax assassin, and a handful of other guys who are just kind of up there, also looking. They don't see him. He's hidden. As soon as the senator gets on his golf cart to leave, he is shot. And this scene is cool.
Caught me by surprise.
Yes.
I did not. I felt that the movie was leading up to an assassination or an assassination attempt, but I didn't know it was going to happen right there in the way it did. It caught me off guard.
Yeah,
because he's driving off in the golf cart, and all of a sudden he just gets JFK'd.
Pretty much, and you're like, oh, they're setting this up so that the attempt is going to happen like during the event, right?
Yes,
not during the
that's
dress
what I
rehearsal.
thought was going to happen.
Exactly,
not during the rehearsal.
Really smart.
Yeah,
and so I like this shot a lot because it pulls back, almost like you're in the catwalk with Warren Beatty, and the senator is like slumped over his steering wheel. Obviously, his foot is on the gas, but he's dying, and his cart,
he's like crashing through all the chairs and tables.
His golf cart is like smashing into stuff until it kind of like stops and comes to rest in front of like a bunch of tables and chairs that it's kind of caught on. And so now someone's like, "I see him. He's up there." Because Warren Beatty has looked down, and in front of him on the catwalk is a rifle.
Yep.
And someone in the crowd's like, "There he is."
He's a patsy.
He's a patsy. Exactly. And so he's like, "Fuck, I got to get out of here." He hides for a minute, and we see we're cutting back and forth where police come in, police cars drive into this building, like this huge, stamped concrete convention hall, which is pretty awesome. They're like, busting J terms.
Every sound possible.
Oh, hell yeah.
Can we talk about the lack of detective work to pick up the body?
Well, what I thought was crazy is because the ambulance comes in also, and did you notice that the policemen like get out, they draw their guns, and they like hide behind the doors, but the poor guys in the ambulance are just like, they just have to run out there and grab the body. Like, yeah, hope you guys don't get shot. So
it seemed very cartoony.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they show up, they're like, pick up the body, then
yeah,
they're gone.
So we get another scene where he's there's this building tension where the Parallax assassins are kind of all around him, and he's on this catwalk and he's hiding and he's trying to be really still, and then again he gets spotted again. Someone else calls out, there he is, and he gets up and he's running towards this door. Everything is black because again he's on this catwalk, it's above all the light fixtures, but the door is this big white rectangle that he's running towards. He's almost there, he's gonna get there, and this dude steps out and blasts him with a shotgun.
Didn't see that coming either.
Right. I've seen this movie a lot, and every time it shocks me. And
I love a movie that the hero doesn't win.
Yeah. And what happens next? It flips right to our tribunal again. Almost the exact same setup, Mark, where it's the 7 guys in this paneled room, the United States seal behind them, and they go through almost the exact same thing where they're like, after 12 weeks of depositions and hearings. We will not be taking questions, but it has been found that Senator Hammond was killed by a lone gunman, Joseph Frady. He was paranoid. He thought that people were out to... They go through the whole thing, and then...
Exactly like the beginning.
Exactly like the beginning. And the movie is... The camera is pulling away. And did you notice that the volume goes down as the movie pulls away? And as they're talking, as he's going through the speech? I watched it again. I was like, I wonder, is this my TV? No, they like dampen the speech as the camera pulls out, and then the guys disappear, and you just get the 7 empty chairs.
Why did they ever make a sequel to this?
Dude, I just think it's so... It just hammers it so hard that they're like, this is a statement, and they're... I don't know, man. It's bleak.
And then to go back to the ending real quick.
Yeah.
They made a big emphasis on the tuba guy, who obviously couldn't play the fucking tuba.
What was the deal with that?
I don't know.
He was a part of it, right? Like, because he was the one who called them out twice.
I think you're right, Mark.
Like, oh, that was him.
I think you're right.
Oh, that was him.
He had to be. He had to be a Parallax guy, because you're right. They make it a point that like he's not able to play the tuba, which makes me think that they just stuck this guy down there. But they need someone to be like, there he is, to make it seem like to tie this whole conspiracy together. Like, that's the guy. I'm a complete third party bystander witness, the tuba guy, and I saw him. You're totally right, dude.
And that's why I brought up earlier. I think they were like, as soon as they found out that he lied about his name, they were probably following him from the jump.
Yes.
Like, we're following him. Follow somebody. Someone was following him, likely. And that's why I feel like, when you're walking, you probably just like do a little like.
Yep.
But the guy he was following never did that. I think they knew he was going to be there.
Yes.
They knew he was going, like, they had all had this ready.
Yep.
And the guy down there,
the rifle was there.
It's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was all set up already.
Yep.
He didn't have to do it. All he had to do was follow somebody. It's crazy, man.
And when you think back on it, you realize that for most of this movie, once he's kind of into the Parallax Corporation, he's being set up the whole time.
100%.
He's the patsy the whole time. And they need to kill this guy. They realize that whatever contract they have on whatever senator or political leader, they realize this guy's infiltrating. We're going to use him as, a target.
Because the letter you see that he finds, it's a recruitment letter.
Absolutely.
It's, oh, you're down on your luck, or you're not, like, your life didn't come out as you expected it to be.
Yep.
Join us.
Yep.
Like, we'll give you everything. And it's you're just signing your life away at that point.
This movie's hard, boys. Hard.
It was good, man.
It's good.
I like this one. Hey, something I need to mention is, and I need you to explain this. What is the Criterion Collection?
So glad you asked, Greg. The Criterion Collection is a film studio. They have a streaming app as well. And it's been around a long time. It's basically like a curated collection of films that they go through and they pull out, and sometimes they have to restore them. But it's basically like I'm trying to think of like how to describe this in a better, more palatable term for you. It would be like if a record label went back and was like, we're going to do vinyl pressings of all of like the originals of the
good stuff.
Yes. And they have all kinds of different, people. Sometimes they'll feature a director, or they'll go through and they'll do like a remastered version. So for example, I have this movie on Blu-ray and I have the Criterion Collection version. It's fucking awesome.
So because it's the Criterion Collection, they've remastered it, they've redone the sound, and you can watch it in 4K or HD.
Yep. I mean, they do
it. So this movie's part of that collection.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's considered one of those.
Yes. And most often there's something about the Criterion Collection films that raises them to like a prestigious level, whether it's they're, a director, or, I mean, like all of Kurosawa's movies are Criterion Collections. You can...
Is Fast and the Furious in there?
It hasn't made it there yet. Surprisingly, I don't know.
Soon.
I don't know what's
10
going
more
on there.
years. 10 more years, I think we'll.
But they used to be very, very art housey, and they've definitely kind of broadened opened their doors a little bit. Have you ever seen the YouTube clips, and they're on social media, of like a celebrity, like an actor or director, like going to the Criterion Closet? It's a new thing.
I didn't know there was an actual closet.
Yeah, it's actually a moving. It's called the Criterion Closet. It's like a moving box truck where they have just rows of boxes of Blu-rays, and it'll be like a 15-minute video, and basically they're like, okay, Willem Dafoe, go in here and pick out 5 movies that you like, and he'll just wander the shelves and be like, oh my gosh, I love I don't know, Gone with the Wind, and he'll pull it off and talk about it. It's really cool. You know how, Greg, have you seen the stuff where like Amoeba Music does like What's in My Bag?
Yeah,
it's exactly like that except for film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. And this movie, you're right, this movie is part of the Criterion Collection. And the reason it is because it's such like a thought-provoking movie. The cinematography is so top-notch, like we talked about. It's part of this Paranoia trilogy. It's a really, really impressive film.
Where does this movie fall in the Paranoia trilogy?
It's in the middle.
Okay.
Clute is...
I wanted to point out...
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Lots of, like, you just touched on cinematography again. Lots of, like, hand cam work. I don't know if y'all noticed that.
Yeah.
Lots of hand cam.
Yep.
And I can't help but wonder how big that hand cam was.
Probably gigantic.
It was not a hand cam. It was a shoulder cam, likely. That dude had a...
For sure.
He had a rocket.
Yeah. A couple things I found that I wanted to mention real quick. Warren Beatty suggested in the original script, the main character was a police officer, and he said change.
I saw
he said
that.
Change that.
Yeah.
Don't make him a cop.
Like he was going to be a detective.
Yeah, and they were like, make him a reporter, which I think is way better. That he's the reporter.
It's less cookie cutter for the time.
Yeah, and it's easier.
There was a lot of detective cop
sure.
movies that came out of the 70s.
And I think it's easier to believe that he would have gotten sucked in and not known that he was over his head in this part of the conspiracy. It would have been harder to buy that if he's a police officer, to me.
And they don't really sell the reporter thing like too hard.
Mm-mm.
Like, like he's not like boasting about it.
No, and you never see him like write one single story, right? You just kind of know that he's like got an editor and he's kind of a lazy ass. That's about it.
He could have been a private eye.
Yeah.
If you just didn't pay attention, you were like, oh, this guy's a private investigator.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you've not known the difference.
Yep.
I think IMDb gives this movie a pretty high score as well. I think it was like 8 point something.
Okay.
I saw 7.4 or
7.1.
Something like that.
Higher than Dick Tracy is what I can say.
Yeah, higher than Dick Tracy.
7.1, 23,000 reviews.
Rotten Tomatoes gives it 87% for what that's worth. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't typically give high ratings on anything.
That's true. What else do we got?
What would you rate this? What would you rate this movie, Joe? 1 through 5.
You know what I'm going to say, bro.
No, I don't. Let me hear it.
5 stars, baby.
5?
It's a 5-star banger. This movie is so different than anything that you're going to watch nowadays. It's dark. It is grim.
I'll back that.
I never know. You never know what's happening, what's going to happen. This is far from predictable. It has a very clear commentary on society of the time. And also, I think you can extrapolate it to really any time where you're like, are corporations involved in politics? Do these things happen for a reason? Is it just random, or does this stuff, are strings being pulled? I mean, you can really go deep on this. It's so thought-provoking. The paranoia is real. I love the cinematography. I love this movie, man. I don't think there's anyone who's listening to our podcast who has listened to more than one episode who would not like this movie.
I think that it's worth watching.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. Mark, what would you rate this movie?
It might be my highest
Fuck yeah,
of
Mark.
the season.
Wow.
I can't remember my highest, but I would give it like 4.
More than Heat?
I'd give it like a 4.6.
God damn right.
4.7. Like
I think Heat,
I think it was
Heat and Parallax are his two highest.
Yeah, those are the highest, man. I think this movie, and it gets a lot of points for the age that it was done. Like the 70s, I feel like you'd have to be a fucking crazy person to try to pitch something like this where you're like, oh, well, we're going to build paranoia and suspense. And also at the end, he's going to fucking die. Like, obviously, this movie didn't make a lot of money. And this movie didn't make waves.
Right.
But I think if you watch it now, you can actually appreciate what the hell they were trying to do. Was it 40, how many, 50 years ago?
Yeah.
53 years ago?
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
They don't even do that now.
When you say that, you just bump my score up because the movie holds up pretty well for how long it's been.
53
years.
And
I don't even know anyone that old.
Well, and it's like, look, Mark, I think you're right. This guy's going to die at the end. And not just a guy. This is Warren Beatty, who at the time is like 90s Brad Pitt. You know?
Hot.
Handsome bro. Like a big star.
Who's the 2000s Brad Pitt, Joe?
Brad Pitt?
Like right now?
No, the 2000s.
I mean, it's probably Brad Pitt again, honestly. You know? Like, I'm trying to think of like a really, okay. I want to say, like...
Clooney?
Maybe. It would be like if Clooney died at the end of a paranoia movie, where you're like, this guy's going to win.
I think that did happen. Perfect Storm.
Yeah, that's a true story, though.
Wow.
So everybody already knew. I knew those guys were going to die, even though I like that movie. But yeah.
I didn't know he was going to die.
Come on, Greg. Did you read the news? All those people.
I know.
Both died. He had to go down with the ship. You know, I don't really know that he did. He could have gotten off.
How old was Beatty in this?
Great question. Let's look him up.
I can't tell.
This came out in 1974, and he was born... I'm sure it was like the 30s. He's probably like in his 40s. Let's see.
Oh, 30. Oh, he was born in 37.
Yeah.
So he was...
Jeez, he was alive before cars existed.
Jesus.
So this came out in 73. Let's just call it 70. Dude, I'm terrible at math. 40 to 70 is like 33, 36.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, like, I don't even know who's the equivalent to him now because it's so fractured.
He's 87 now.
Yeah. He's in his 30s. 50 years ago, he was in his 30s. This would be like Austin Butler, who's not even nearly as big of a star as Warren Beatty was in the 70s, but is like that kind of look. You know, like a heartthrob, all-American guy, main character type of energy. And you're like, yeah, he's going to be subject to this conspiracy that he doesn't know about, and he's going to die at the end, and it's all going to be for nothing. He is going to be the sacrificial lamb. Yeah. That's crazy.
What do you give it, Greg? Did I bump up your score a little bit?
Watch him say like 2.5, Mark.
You gave it a 4.6, right?
7.
I'll do 4.7. Yeah.
4.7. I'd probably give it like a 4.5.
Hell yeah. This movie fucking rips.
That's strong.
God, guys, I'm so proud of you both.
We've also done some pretty turdy movies lately.
I mean, going from Halloween H2O to this is a real nice. This is great.
Going from Bloodsport to this.
Yeah, Bloodsport was
nice.
I was disappointed in Bloodsport, guys.
Well,
I was too.
It didn't hold up for me.
Speaking of turdy movies.
Yeah.
Next episode, we're doing a little something different.
Great segue.
Joe and I.
Look at this pro podcaster here.
Joe and I are gonna dish it out with we've compiled a list that neither of us know about, and it's our top 5 movies that we hate that other people love.
Yeah.
So
they're like generally like well like acclaimed, I would say.
Yeah.
Acclaimed?
Yeah, like
how about just people like it a lot?
Yeah,
people
popular.
like
yeah, popular. Yeah, that's right. A couple rules, Greg. Just questions about our rules. I have one that I like the movie, but I hate one of the characters so much that it makes me like the movie less. Maybe that's like an honorable mention.
Yeah, that sounds like an honorable mention. That doesn't sound like you hate the movie.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have your list already, or are you still working on it?
Oh yeah, I've got a list with some honorable mentions already.
Son. All right.
Yeah.
I kind of struggle.
So,
I'm ready to rip on some movies on the next one.
I wonder how many of them I really like.
We're going to call this next episode Shit from a Butt.
Do you think there's going to be any of the 5 that we have together?
So that's
No.
that's where I'm gonna be like come in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna know Greg's list and I'm gonna know your list.
Okay.
So we can kind of stay on track and also just make sure y'all aren't picking the same movies. I don't think y'all will.
Probably not. Probably not.
But just send me y'all's list
Okay.
whenever y'all are done. And I'm playing moderator.
I'm gonna offend some people, Greg. I'm gonna offend some people.
I'm stroking the fire.
I think I'm gonna offend you.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
I think I'm gonna offend you with two of them.
You're gonna offend me. I already know.
I don't know. I may not go that hard to the paint on one of them. But there's one that
we're fighting.
I've got a secret one in my back pocket that I'm going to bring out. And I think, Greg, you might be like, we can't be friends anymore.
Well, good thing that this is the last episode of this season.
Yeah, this is season finale. Final thoughts, boys.
I dig it. It was a good movie.
Okay.
I was happy to watch it.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it to people that like movies, but you can't have ADD with this movie. Or ADHD,
it's not long,
whatever.
How long is this movie? Let's make that
like an hour 40.
Yeah, it moves quick and it does not drag. But to Mark's point earlier and to your point right now, if you're like on your phone while this movie's on, something's gonna happen. You're gonna be like, what just happened? You got to watch it.
You're gonna rewind that movie 20 times or just not give a shit.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, Joe.
Yeah.
I do trust you more. This is my first season. We're coming to a close.
Yeah.
Had some great moments.
Mark, Matt.
There's some there.
Why don't you two get married
respect,
already?
Mark, respect.
No, I trust you. My trust grows.
See that, Greg?
Because I was not. Dude, my expectations were so low.
I knew they were.
Yeah.
Joe's gonna need to grease that door to get his head out of that room.
I gotta say, Mark, when you were like really pumped going off on like some of the cinematography and stuff, I was just like a proud dad. And I knew Greg was like, God damn it. I was like, fucking right, Mark. Mark gets it.
I love that shit, man.
Yeah.
I feel like it gets so it's so easy to do now in like the new movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just throw a fucking AI filter over it, throw the fucking Michael Bay's making Mexico yellow or any other country yellow.
Yeah.
Like it's just
if it's not America, it's a dirty yellow.
If it's not America,
and
it's dirty yellow. I hate it.
I think you're making a good point though, because a lot of movies look like they're all made on the computer in the same from the same program. And you watch a movie like this and you're like, that is not what this is. This movie is, to your point, Mark, they shot these on locations with real cameras. They used real shadow and real light. It's like this is a real film. This wasn't like cut together.
I did a little studying like on this movie because I was interested in like why does Joe like this fucking thing. Apparently this was like right in between, I think they call it, I don't know if they call it neo-noir or something, but it's in the noir genre.
Yep.
But like 10 years prior to this movie, it was apparently the acting was like very staged. It was very like, you could tell they were reading lines. You could tell that the camera work was very like,
yes.
Everything was very like point to point. With this one, I guess what they wanted to do, their brainchild, was to make it feel real.
Yeah.
Make these people feel real and let the actors do what they're doing. Because a lot of these are long shots. So I'm assuming when they're at the dam, he's fucking, you just let that shit ride like he's a real person that you're watching. And they do that with the hand cam. It's like you're there. It's visceral.
Mm-hmm.
And I just respect that shit so much because people just phone it in, dude. You get $20 million to make a movie now.
Yep.
And they don't give a shit.
Yep.
They don't.
And
throw it out.
The naturalistic stuff is definitely like part of New Hollywood, which this movie is definitely, that's like the rise of New Hollywood was like around, the late 60s, early 70s. Violence was more explicit in movies. This movie, like Greg, like you said, when the senator gets shot in the first 5 minutes, it's like he gets blood splatter. It's shocking. You're like, holy shit. And that's all stuff that's new.
I'm a Tarantino fanboy. I feel like he's one of the directors that keeps shit true to the time.
Sure.
Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he probably has a million fucking shots of that movie.
Yep.
You might not think it's necessary to see this chick's feet on the
when
he's driving the car, but it is.
Yeah.
It is necessary. Those little things, the natural sounds, the sounds of the cars going by, like all that shit's so forgotten.
Yeah.
And this was really refreshing.
Yeah.
Gives you a nice parallax view when they do that.
You see things from a different perspective.
Oh man.
Ah!
That's how we're ending, boys. Catch you next time.
We out.
We out.